Cat's Cradle here. Tonight I'm making beef stroganoff. I've got my green beans out. I'm going to have some green beans on the side. I've got my canned ground beef there. I've got my dehydrated mushrooms. I have a half package of egg noodles there, which is what I'm going to use. A friend found a pasta company that has to save all of their a sample from every batch of pasta they make and store it for 6 months. That's part of the rules of making pasta, I guess, according to food safety. And at the end of 6 months, they get rid of all that pasta they saved. And here they saved a half bag of wild egg noodles. Anyway, my friend just went and picked it up on a big old pallet and shared lots of it with me. So I'm going to use that half bag of egg noodles to make my stroganoff. But anything like stroganoff that's going to leave a little bit of gravy on the plate, my husband, like many other men I know, wants to sop it up with some bread. So I need to quickly make a batch of French bread. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to share it with you. It's the easiest thing in the world. Even if you had trouble making other bread, you won't have any trouble with this. You take a 1 1/4 cup of very warm water. You need to be able to hold your finger in it for a few seconds and to say to yourself, that's really warm. If it burns your finger, it's too hot and it will kill your yeast. To that, you add 2, there's 1, 2, and 1/4 teaspoons of yeast. Doesn't matter what kind you use. Okay? 2 1/4 is exactly what's in a packet of yeast. So if all you have is packets, you just use 1 packet of yeast. So that's 1 1/3 cup of warm water and 2 1/4 cups of yeast. To that, I'm going to add my flour, but I'm going to let this sit just a minute just to prove that my yeast is good. You can stir it up if you want to. You don't have to. What I like to do while I'm proving that my yeast is good is I just set it in my microwave with the light on. Just set it right up there. Okay, I'm going to come back in about 3 or 4 minutes and make sure my yeast looks frothy. Okay, I'm back, and I've taken the bowl out that was sitting in the warm microwave, and you can see some of the yeast has risen to the top and it's kind of frothy. That's exactly what you want. I've proved that my yeast is good. I can smell it. My nose tells me that it's active and live and doing wonderful. So to this I'm going to add, now let me preface this by saying, the only ingredients you need to make delicious French bread are water, yeast, flour, and salt. That's all you need. Today, for just a portion of the flour, I'm going to throw in 1/2 cup of whole wheat flour, just because I feel better knowing my family's not just eating plain white bread. So here's 1/2 cup of whole wheat flour. Dump that in. And I'm going to dump in, about 1/2 cup of white flour here. I'm going to stir that and see how it looks. All I'm trying to do is make kind of a thick gravy-looking mixture right here. All the lumps do not have to be out of this. I just like to scrape down most of the dry stuff off the sides. I'll put in a little more, maybe another 1/4 cup here. This is not an exact science, but I'll tell you how to know if you got it right. Through the process, I'll show you if that's about right. So I put in 1/2 cup of whole wheat flour and about 3/4 cup of white flour. And that's about how I want it. Kind of looks like gravy. Kind of looks like brown cream gravy now. Okay, that's good. Sorry, I hate it when people bang the spoon on the side of metal things in their videos. Didn't mean to do that. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to set it back in the microwave, and I'm going to set my timer for about 15 minutes. What I want to do is for that yeast to permeate that water. I want that whole wheat flour to soften, and it's going to make a bread with a better texture having done this. There's a name for this, and when it comes to me, I'll tell you what it is. Be back in a minute. Okay, I'm back. It's been probably about 20 minutes, and here's what you're looking at. The dough has risen substantially. You'll see some small bubbles there if I shake it just a little bit. You can see that it kind of stands up on its own. You can see the bubbles kind of come. Yeah, that's exactly what you want, just like that. So that yeast is working great. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put it on my mixing stand. I do have a KitchenAid mixer. You don't have to have a KitchenAid mixer. You just need to have a heavy-duty mixer. A dough hook is preferable. If you don't have a dough hook, you can use a hook that looks like this. Do not use one that looks like this. Okay? Here's where we're going to season our bread. I'm going to put in about a teaspoon of yeast. This is flake salt, so it's a little weaker than regular table salt. I'm going to put just a little bit more, about a teaspoon of salt. And if you wanted to flavor it with any other kind of flavoring, here's where you would do it. If you want to put garlic powder in it, put garlic powder. If you want to put Italian seasoning, that's when it would go in. If you want to put some cheese and black pepper, you can do it now. I just like traditional French bread, so that's what I do. So I've got my water, flour, yeast, salt, and now all it needs is more flour. So I'm going to start here with, I'm going to put another cup, probably a cup and a half. I'm going to put a heaping. This is a half cup measure. I'm going to put about a cup and a half, and I'm going to show you how to know how much flour to add. So I'm going to put my mixer down. I'm going to lock it. Trust me when I tell you that you want to start this on low because you don't want that flour to fly everywhere. Mixer's kind of loud. I'll probably only stay with this just a minute. Oh, it's not too bad. Okay. Start mixing it in. I'm going to run and go get a rubber spatula and be right back. Okay, I'm going to stop this mixer for just a minute. Okay, I put a heaping cup and a half of flour in when I added it. I never measure. I never use the measuring cups. I'm trying to do this for you so I can get the measurements exactly right. Back off from that a little bit. Start with a cup of flour, maybe a cup and a fourth of flour. And here's what you want. When you start beating that, you want it to gather up on your dough hook like that. Now I'm going to show you in there. You'll see how it's kind of sticking a little bit to the floor of the bowl. That's to be expected. Now what I want to do is I'm going to put it back down. I'm going to keep beating and watch it. Let me lock it. Watch it start picking that up. Okay, kind of looks like a tornado. Is it going to pick it all up? Because that's what you want. You want it to just pick that dough up off the floor of that bowl. And now I have not scraped this bowl. This is how it does. Okay, now see it's laying back down on the bowl, the floor of the bowl. Let's watch it and see if it'll pick it up again. That's what I look for. I want it to just pick up that dough. So I'm going to add teaspoon by teaspoon a little more flour, and you'll hear the mixer kind of strain and it'll throw the dough off. That was just a teaspoon of flour that goes in. Now let's see if it'll clean the bowl up again. Then it kind of slings it off the hook a little bit. I'm going to add just another teaspoon. See, it's like it's a teaspoon full. Okay, it's going to sling the dough off, and it's going to try to gather that flour up. There you go. Now see the bottom of the bowl is clean again? That's what I'm looking for. When that dough has pulled it all the remaining dough onto itself and on that hook, and there it's going. The bowl is clean. Now what I do is I turn it on high. I push it back so my mixer doesn't walk itself off the counter. And I go and set my timer for 7 minutes, and I let it beat it for 7 minutes. I let the machine do all the kneading for me. I'll be back when it's done. Okay. Catch Cradle back with you. It's been 7 minutes. The dough looks perfect. I'm going to lift this up. It's going to want to make a big old strand there to the bottom. It's heavy. That's exactly how it should look. Okay? Now here's what I do. You'll remember from my granola recipe I told you I loved using the lids to cake savers and pie savers. I use the pie saver plastic lid to put my bread in to rise. And I pour in a generous amount of olive oil, about a tablespoon. And then what I'm going to do, Prepare, can you come help? Let me change off videographers here. I should have called her in earlier, because I'm going to need both hands and I didn't think about it. Here she comes. Can you video while I put this bread in that bread pan? If you'll just focus kind of right here, you can go up here. What I'm going to do, step back just a little bit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to spread the oil around with my hands, and then I'm going to put the oil on both hands, because this dough is sticky, and that's how you want it. If it's not sticky, you've added too much flour. And what I would do if I did that is I would just put a little bit of water on my dough and beat it again to beat the water in a little bit till it's sticky. As you can see, I get most of the dough off the beater. It's all come out of the mixing bowl cleanly. And all I do is just gather this under so that I have a nice, I don't know, ball of dough like this. It's all crimped under in the back. I kind of pull that together. Then what I do is I put this top down in the oil so that the top gets oil. I can gather a little more oil around on it because I want it to stay oiled like that. If you stay right there, Prepare, I'll show them what I do here. I get a clean dish towel. I like a thin one. This happens to be my favorite one for raising bread. Put it over the top like that, and you leave it for about an hour. This isn't an exact science. I want it to double. I want it to double in size. I have to run uptown. I live in a little bitty town, and I sit on the library board, so I need to go run up there for a special meeting they've called. And hopefully, it won't last long. I'll be back within an hour, and this will be ready to put on the pan. I'll show you how. Would you get a shot of this bowl so they can see how cleanly that bread comes out of there? And this is what you're left to wash with this bread. You're left to wash this dough hook, the bowl, the spoon you originally mixed up the water and flour with, measuring cup, and a spatula if you needed. I didn't need it. That's it. That's all you have to wash up. It's wonderful. I'll be back to you as soon as I get home from my board meeting. Okay, I'm back from the library board meeting that absolutely would not end. Our recently retired librarian had been the librarian for 44 years at our small town library, and $800 was donated in her honor. And of course, every little old person who donated money in town wanted to know what we were going to use it on, even though it's only been less than a week since her funeral. So, enough of that. Sorry to vent to you. Here's how my bread looks. It has more than doubled, and in fact, it looks like it's trying to shrink again because I've been gone so long. Just a little over an hour, so you can see how big it gets. Now, I am kind to my risen bread. You'll find videos of people just beating it down and kneading it down, and I don't do that. I'm gentle to it, so I just kind of divide it in half because it's going to make two nice loaves. And before I mess with that, I'm going to show you. If I had to count, or if I had to list the 10 top things in my kitchen that I wouldn't be without, this would be one of them. This happens to be a brand named Silpat. What it is it feels rubberized, high temperature rubberized mat. Inside you'll see it's kind of woven. That's actually glass that's woven in there. So this mat is heat resistant, and it makes your cookie sheet or jelly roll pan non-stick. I haven't found anything that will stick to it. If I were to drop a tablespoon of sugar in there, put it in the oven and burn it, I'd be able to peel it right off. Nothing sticks to it. But 2 loaves of French bread fit perfectly in it. So here's what I do. I pick up my bread, and it has an oily side where it's been down on that pan. I just kind of lay it down and begin rolling it up. I don't knead it. I'm tucking in the ends a little bit here. I kind of spread it out here because that's going to be rolled up. It's very soft and supple. It should not be sticking to your fingers because of the olive oil. Okay, here we go. And I don't just manhandle it. I make kind of a nice shape and just call it good. It doesn't have to be perfect. For my family, I tuck the ends in. That's good enough, right like that. If you want to, you can look on the underneath side and you can pinch all that together, but you don't have to. I'm just going to roll it back. That's good. That's going to make a nice loaf. And I kind of angle it on the pan like that because I'm going to get two on here. Okay, here we go. Let's do the next one. Make sure there's plenty of oil in my hands. You should find plenty of it at the bottom of that plastic container. I kind of press out the end I'm going towards, and I just start folding it in. And sometimes I'll fold in the end so that none of that pops out. I fold again. Occasionally I'll trap an air bubble. I try not to do that. But this makes my rising time a little less because I don't beat it down so and don't knead it. I don't need all the nice risen air out of it. So there's my second one. Okay, kind of tuck the end under if it looks tacky and just shape it into a French loaf. Now you don't have to need to make it as big as your French loaf is going to be because it's going to expand to be pretty big. So there you go. There's two nice loaves. Nothing fancy. I didn't take a lot of time shaping them. I will take a little bit of the oil that's in that pan and just rub it on top. That's all you need. Just a little bit. Take a little bit more. There you go. Okay, I'm going to take a sharp knife and then I just score this. Some people wait till it's risen a lot, but I don't like pressing down my bread again, so I go ahead and score it now. Score it as much as you like. I make 3 scorings, and you can see the structure of the bread in there. And what these cross slices do will allow that bread to fully expand and to be just beautiful. So what I do now is I'm going to cover it again with my cloth. It won't take quite an hour this time to rise, and they'll be ready to go in my oven. Some people, I meant to mention this earlier, some people you will see, especially the uninitiated, as their yeast goes in their water, they will put they'll put sugar or honey in there because they say the yeast needs that to feed. As soon as you put flour in there, your yeast is feeding because flour is carbohydrate. It's a starch and it breaks down into sugar, so there's really no need to put sugar in there, and I certainly don't want it in my French bread. Like I said, the only thing you really need is water, yeast, salt, and flour to make a delicious French bread. I'll come back to you when this is risen, when I'm ready to put it in the oven. I forgot to tell you something. The great French bakers, before they put their bread in the oven, they will steam that oven by spraying steam in there, and I'll show you how that's done. You can do it even when your bread's in there. It doesn't matter. I've got a spray bottle. You just spray that like that, and then you close the door to create steam, and that's what makes a nice, lovely crust on your bread. The other way to do it, which I found is much easier because periodically I was opening the oven and steaming it all the time, and I just got tired of doing that. One way you can do it is simply take 2 ice cubes, drop them in the bottom of your oven. It's going to create plenty of steam for a good while. I don't do this so often now because I have a 10-year-old who's losing baby teeth and her permanent teeth are coming in, and it's just too hard to bite really crusty French bread. But if I had my preference, that's how I like it. I like it really crusty. But those 2 ice cubes that I just dropped in there are creating steam, and they're going to put a nice crust on the bread. Just a little tip for you. Okay, here we go. The bread is just out of the oven. Took just right around 30 minutes to bake at 400. Be sure and watch it because your oven may vary and it may cook very quickly. When your bread comes out and it sounds hollow, it's done. You can see where I cut the slits, how it's spread open. That just allowed the yeast to really do its job and let the bread rise. This is what happens very often if I'm not careful and I'm not vigilant over my hot bread when it comes out of the oven. It will be missing the end piece. That happens quite frequently around this house. I did cut one more piece off to show you. You'll see some little holes in there. I love that. That's what happens when you don't knead it down. You end up with those beautiful little holes. in your bread, which is actually preferable to me. I love it. It is delicious. I hope you give it a try. For my little family of 3, 2 adults and 1 child, I usually just cut the loaves in half. I'll leave 1 loaf out. We'll eat half of it tonight and probably the other half tomorrow. This one I'll cut in half and put in a bread bag in the freezer, and then all I need to do is pull 1/2 out a couple of hours before dinner, and that's enough bread for us for our dinner. So I hope you try this. I hope if you have any questions that you email me or PM me, and I'd be happy to answer, but nothing could be easier than making this bread. It's so simple. Just don't overthink it. Just do it like I said. If you try it, please send me a message and let me know how you like it. I'll be showing my whole wheat bread recipe in the future. That is a bread that I do hand knead, and also a roll recipe. And I'll also be showing you what to do when you run out of yeast. Hope you enjoyed this video. Talk to you later. Bye.